What if the person scrubbing pans in your favorite steakhouse wasn't just another new hire, but the CEO himself, undercover? What if the secrets he uncovered behind the kitchen doors would shake the entire restaurant to its core? Tonight, you're about to witness a real-life undercover mission where loyalty is tested. Drama boils over, and the truth is finally served. Meet Michael Grant, a CEO who's traded his suit for an apron and a mop, determined to find out what's really happening when the boss isn't watching. Will he discover that the heart of his business still beats with kindness? Or will he expose a toxic culture that could destroy everything he's built? Stay tuned. Because what happens next at Prime Flame will leave you speechless. Now, the story begins. The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon, casting a warm amber glow over the bustling streets of downtown Chicago. The iconic neon sign of Prime Flame flickered to life, its bold letters promising a dining experience where every guest is family. But behind the warm glow and the inviting aroma of sizzling steaks and fresh herbs, a storm was quietly brewing. Michael Grant, a man in his early 50s with salt and pepper hair and a weathered but kind face, stood just outside the back entrance of Prime Flame's flagship steakhouse. Dressed in a plain black t-shirt, worn jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes, he looked every bit like a new dishwasher ready to start his first shift. But Michael was no ordinary dishwasher. He was the CEO and founder of Prime Flame, a man who had risen from washing dishes to running one of the most beloved steakhouse chains in the Midwest. For years, Michael had built Prime Flame on a simple but powerful philosophy: respect every role, treat every customer like family, and never compromise on quality. His journey had started in a cramped kitchen, scrubbing pots and pans, learning the ropes from the ground up. Now, his name was on every menu, and his face graced billboards across the city. But recent whispers and troubling reviews had shaken his faith in the culture he'd worked so hard to create. Rumors of staff bullying, favoritism toward high-tipping customers, and even theft had begun to surface. Loyal patrons complained of cold service, and some employees whispered about a toxic environment where kindness was punished. Michael knew he couldn't ignore these signs. So, he made a bold decision. He would go undercover, step back into the shoes of a dishwasher, and see for himself what was really happening behind the scenes. As he stepped through the swinging kitchen door, the familiar clatter of pots, the hiss of the grill, and the low murmur of orders filled the air. The kitchen was a hive of activity, with chefs shouting out orders and servers weaving through the narrow aisles. The scent of charred oak and garlic mingled with the sharp tang of stainless steel. Michael's first encounter was with Tony, the head chef. Tony was a burly man in his 40s, with a thick beard and a booming voice that commanded respect. But today, Michael noticed a coldness in Tony's eyes as he barked orders at the line cooks. Tony barely glanced at Michael as he handed him a stack of dirty pans. "Get these cleaned and ready for tonight," he grunted. Lisa, the sous chef, was no kinder. She was a petite woman with sharp features and a quick temper. She tossed a pile of soiled utensils onto Michael's station and muttered, "Don't slow us down." Michael swallowed the sting of their dismissive attitudes. He knew this was part of the reality he needed to face. As he scrubbed and rinsed, Michael observed the kitchen dynamics. Tony and Lisa seemed to run a tight ship, but their leadership style bordered on harsh and unforgiving. He overheard snippets of conversations where they criticized Ben, a young server known for his friendly demeanor and genuine care for customers. "He's too soft," Tony sneered. "Spends too much time chatting with the regulars and not enough hustling." Ben, meanwhile, was juggling tables with a smile, refilling drinks, and comforting a nervous elderly couple. Michael admired his dedication but sensed the tension as Tony and Lisa exchanged knowing glances. In the dining room, Sophie, a new waitress, was struggling to keep up. She moved nervously between tables, her hands trembling as she balanced plates. A few seasoned servers shot her impatient looks, and Michael caught Lisa whispering to Tony, "She won't last long if she keeps this up." Michael's heart ached for Sophie. He remembered his own early days, the fear of making mistakes, the pressure to prove oneself. As the evening rush began, the restaurant filled with a mix of business professionals, families, and couples celebrating special occasions. The atmosphere was lively but tense beneath the surface. Michael noticed how Tony and Lisa prioritized the VIP tables, ensuring their orders were perfect and their needs met promptly. Meanwhile, other guests waited longer, their requests met with curt responses. Behind the scenes, Michael caught glimpses of a darker reality. He saw Tony pocketing extra portions of steak meant for the kitchen staff, and Lisa manipulating order tickets to claim rewards. When a customer complained about a missing side dish, Tony shrugged it off and blamed Ben. Michael's resolve hardened. He knew he had to gather evidence, but he also wanted to understand the human side of the story. During a brief lull, Michael struck up a conversation with Ben. The young server confided in him about the challenges of working under Tony and Lisa's watchful eyes. "They make it clear that kindness is a weakness," Ben said quietly. "But I believe treating people right is what this place should be about." Michael nodded, feeling a surge of pride and sadness. Later, Sophie approached Michael, her eyes wide with uncertainty. "I don't know if I can keep up," she admitted. "They're tough, and I'm scared to make a mistake." Michael offered a reassuring smile. "You're stronger than you think. And you're not alone." As the night wore on, Michael continued his work, his hands raw but his spirit unbroken. He listened, observed, and took mental notes, piecing together the story of a restaurant struggling to live up to its own ideals. When the last customer left and the lights dimmed, Michael stood in the empty dining room, the echoes of the day lingering in the air. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he was ready to face it head on. Because at Prime Flame, every guest was family. And it was time to remind everyone of that truth. Stay tuned. The real story is just beginning. A storm was brewing outside Prime Flame as Michael Grant started his second night on the dish line. The sky was bruised purple, thunder rumbling somewhere over Lake Michigan, but inside the steakhouse, the heat was all human anxiety, ambition, and the sizzle of ribeyes on a 700 degrees Fahrenheit grill. Michael, sleeves rolled up, hands already chapped from yesterday's marathon shift, felt the tension as soon as he stepped through the swinging door. The kitchen was a world apart from the warm, wood-paneled dining room. Here, under harsh fluorescent lights, the air was thick with steam and the sharp tang of cleaning chemicals. Tony, the head chef, was already in rare form, his voice booming over the clatter. "Let's move, people! VIPs on table 17 want their steaks medium rare, not well-done science projects." Lisa, the sous chef, zipped past, ponytail swinging. Eyes narrowed. She tossed a pan still crusted with burnt cheese onto Michael's already overflowing pile. "Clock's ticking, rookie. Try not to drown back here." Michael forced a smile, grabbed his steel wool, and got to work. He kept his head down, but his ears were wide open. He noticed how Tony and Lisa only really smiled when the restaurant manager or a VIP guest was within earshot. The rest of the time, their faces were masks of impatience and barely concealed contempt. Ben, the young server, was doing his best to keep up. He zipped between tables, always with a kind word for the regulars and a joke for the kids. But Michael saw the way Tony and Lisa watched him like a hawk eyeing a rabbit. "Guy's too soft," Tony grumbled to Lisa as he plated a filet mignon. "Spends more time chatting than hustling. Bet he's costing us tips." Lisa snorted. "He'll learn, or he'll be gone." Meanwhile, Sophie, the new waitress, was clearly struggling. Her hands shook as she carried a tray loaded with steaks and sides. When she nearly dropped a plate, Lisa rolled her eyes and muttered, "Told you she wouldn't last a week." But Michael saw something different in Sophie. She paused to help an elderly couple with their coats, offered a reassuring smile to a nervous teenager on his first date, and took the time to explain the menu to a family who'd never been to a steakhouse before. She was nervous, yes, but she cared. The dinner rush hit like a freight train. Orders piled up. The kitchen floor became slick with spilled oil. Michael worked fast, stacking plates, scrubbing pans, and dodging hot trays. His back ached, but he kept moving, watching everything. He saw Tony slip an extra portion of lobster tail into a to-go bag for a friend, then fudge the inventory sheet. He watched Lisa, accidentally, ring in an extra dessert for a VIP, then pocket the cash when the guests didn't notice. When a customer complained about a cold side, Tony barked at Ben in front of everyone. "Maybe if you stopped flirting and started serving, we wouldn't have these problems." Ben's face flushed, but he didn't argue. Instead, he apologized to the guests, comped the side, and brought out a fresh plate with a smile. During a rare lull, Michael caught Ben by the dish pit. "Rough night?" he asked, keeping his tone casual. Ben shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's always like this. Tony and Lisa, they run the place, really. If you're not part of their crew, you're on your own." "But I can't treat people badly just because it's easier." Michael nodded, feeling a pang of pride. "You're doing the right thing. Don't let them change you." Ben managed a tired smile. "Thanks. Sometimes it feels like I'm the only one who cares." Later, Michael saw Sophie in the walk-in cooler, fighting back tears. He stepped inside, the chill hitting him like a slap. "Hey, you okay?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "I messed up an order, and Lisa told me I was hopeless. I'm trying, but I feel like I can't win." Michael handed her a clean towel. "You're not hopeless. Everyone messes up. What matters is that you care about the guests. That's rare. Don't let them break you." Sophie took a shaky breath, nodded, and squared her shoulders. "Thanks, Mike. I needed that." Back in the kitchen, Michael watched the drama unfold. Tony and Lisa were in their element, schmoozing with the manager when he walked through, then turning on the staff the moment his back was turned. They prioritized VIP tables, sent out perfect plates to the high rollers, and let the rest slide. When a regular customer's steak came out overcooked, Tony blamed Ben, even though Michael had seen Lisa leave it on the grill too long. As the clock ticked past 10 p.m., the last of the guests trickled out. The kitchen was a mess, grease on the floor, pans stacked high, the air thick with exhaustion. Michael worked side by side with Ben and Sophie, cleaning up, sharing stories, and quietly building trust. After closing, Michael lingered by the lockers. He overheard Tony and Lisa whispering. "We need to get rid of Ben," Tony said. "He's making us look bad. Next time there's a screw-up, it's on him." Lisa agreed. And Sophie's soft. "If she doesn't pick a side, she's out too." Michael's heart pounded. He knew now, without a doubt, that the rumors were true. But he also saw hope in Ben's kindness, in Sophie's resilience, in the way a few staff members still looked out for each other. He left the restaurant that night, the city air cool against his skin, mind racing with everything he'd seen. He knew his next step: gather hard evidence, talk to more staff, and find a way to protect the good people from the toxic ones. As Michael drove the 3 miles home, he replayed the night in his head. He thought about the guests who came in hoping for a special meal, the staff who just wanted to do their jobs with dignity, and the culture that had slipped so far from what he'd built. He wasn't angry, he was determined. Prime Flame was his family, and he wasn't going to let it fall apart. Tomorrow, he'd come back, ready to dig even deeper. The truth was out there. And he was going to find it one dirty dish, one whispered conversation, one act of courage at a time. Stay tuned. The real fire was just getting started. A cold wind rattled the windows of Prime Flame as Michael Grant slipped in for his third night on the dish line. The city outside was wrapped in a 40 degrees Fahrenheit chill, but inside the kitchen, the heat was rising in more ways than one. Michael's hands were already rough from scrubbing, but tonight, his mind was sharper than ever. He'd seen enough to know something was deeply wrong. But he needed proof. And he was determined to get it. The kitchen was a blur of motion. Tony, the head chef, barked orders with even less patience than usual. Table 10 wants their steak rare. Not shoe leather. Move it. Lisa, the sous chef, tossed pans onto Michael's station with a little extra force, her eyes flicking to the clock every few minutes. Ben, the young server, was working the floor with his usual energy, but Michael could see the strain in his eyes. Sophie, the new waitress, looked pale and tense, her hands trembling as she double-checked each order ticket. Michael kept his head down, but his phone was tucked in his apron pocket, recording every word. He'd started making notes on every suspicious move every time Tony slipped an extra lobster tail into a to-go bag. Every time Lisa, accidentally, rang in an extra dessert for a VIP and pocketed the cash. He was building a case, one dirty dish at a time. Tonight, the drama was thick enough to cut with a steak knife. It started when a regular customer, a retired firefighter named Mr. Harris, came in for his usual ribeye. Ben greeted him with a handshake and a joke, but Michael saw Tony roll his eyes. Waste of time, Tony muttered to Lisa. That guy never tips more than a couple bucks. VIPs only, remember? Lisa nodded, glancing over at a table of businessmen in suits. Let's make sure table 12 gets the works. Harris can wait. Michael watched as Ben hustled to keep up, refilling drinks and checking on every table, while Tony and Lisa focused all their attention on the VIPs. When Mr. Harris's steak came out overcooked, Tony shrugged and told Ben to deal with it. Ben apologized to Mr. Harris, comped the meal, and brought out a fresh steak. Michael caught the gratitude in the old man's eyes and the frustration in Ben's. Later, in the walk-in cooler, Michael found Sophie wiping her eyes. What happened? He asked quietly. She shook her head. Lisa said I was too slow. She told me if I mess up one more order, I'm out. I want to do a good job, but it feels like they're waiting for me to fail. Michael handed her a clean towel. You're not alone. I see how hard you're working. Don't let them get to you. Sophie managed a shaky smile. Thanks, Mike. I needed that. Back in the kitchen, Michael overheard Tony and Lisa whispering by the prep table. We need to get rid of Ben, Tony said. He's making us look bad. Next time something goes wrong, it's on him. Lisa grinned. And Sophie's soft. If she doesn't pick a side, she's out too. Michael's heart pounded. He knew he had to act soon. The night wore on, and the orders kept coming. Michael watched as Tony fudged the inventory sheet, marking down steaks that never left the kitchen. Lisa voided a ticket for a dessert, then slipped the cash into her pocket. Every move was calculated, every glance between them a silent code. During the late rush, a family of 5 came in, parents, 2 kids, and a grandmother in a wheelchair. Ben went out of his way to make them comfortable, pulling up a chair for the grandmother and bringing extra napkins for the kids. Tony rolled his eyes. Babysitter, not a server, he muttered. But Ben's kindness paid off. The family left a generous tip and a note. Thank you for making us feel welcome. Michael saw Ben tuck the note into his pocket, a small smile breaking through his exhaustion. After closing, Michael stayed late, helping Ben and Sophie clean up. The kitchen was quiet except for the sound of running water and the low hum of the fridge. Michael took a chance. You two ever feel like you're fighting a losing battle? Ben sighed. Every day. But I can't just stand by and watch people get treated like garbage. I know I'm not perfect, but I want this place to be better. Sophie nodded. Me too. I just wish someone would notice. Michael looked at them both, feeling a surge of responsibility. Someone does. He slipped out to the alley behind the restaurant, phone in hand, and called the night manager from another Prime Flame location, a trusted friend. Hey, it's Mike. Have you ever heard anything about Tony or Lisa? Anything weird with inventory or cash? The manager hesitated. Actually, yeah. We've had shortages on shipments, and some of the staff said Tony's been bragging about his bonuses. Why? Michael kept it vague. Just a hunch. Thanks. Back inside, Michael caught Tony and Lisa in the act, Tony stuffing a fillet into a to-go bag, Lisa pocketing a wad of cash from the register. He hit record, heart pounding. This was the proof he needed. As he left for the night, Michael felt a mix of exhaustion and hope. He'd seen the worst of Prime Flame's kitchen but also the best in Ben and Sophie. He knew what he had to do next: bring his evidence to the owner, expose Tony and Lisa, and fight for the culture he'd built from the ground up. He drove home through the quiet city, headlights glinting off rain-slicked streets, replaying every moment in his mind. He thought about the families who came to Prime Flame for a special night out, the staff who just wanted to do their jobs with dignity, and the promise that every guest was family. Tomorrow, Michael would take the first step toward making that promise real again. Stay tuned. The fire was about to burn brighter than ever. The day had finally come. The air outside Prime Flame was crisp, hovering around 55 degrees Fahrenheit, but inside the flagship steakhouse, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Michael Grant, still dressed in his dishwasher uniform but now with a new sense of purpose, stood before the gathered staff in the back room. The usual clatter of dishes and hum of conversation had quieted to a tense silence. He cleared his throat, his voice steady but carrying the weight of weeks of observation and discovery. Thank you all for coming in early today. I have something important to share. Eyes darted around the room. Tony and Lisa exchanged wary glances, their usual bravado replaced by unease. Ben and Sophie sat side by side, their expressions a mix of hope and anxiety. Tom, the floor manager, stood near the door, his face pale but attentive. Michael took a deep breath. Some of you know me as Mike, the new dishwasher. But my real name is Michael Grant. I'm the CEO and founder of Prime Flame. Gasps filled the room. Tony's jaw tightened, Lisa's eyes widened, and Ben's mouth fell open. Sophie's hands clenched nervously. I went undercover because I needed to see the truth for myself. Michael continued. I wanted to understand what was really happening behind these kitchen doors and in this dining room. What I found was heartbreaking. He laid out the evidence. Videos of Tony pocketing extra portions, Lisa manipulating order tickets, audio recordings of their conversations plotting against Ben and Sophie, and customer complaints about cold service and favoritism. Tony tried to interrupt, but Michael raised a hand. I saw you void tickets and pocket cash. I heard you blame Ben for the mistakes you made. This isn't just about theft, it's about respect and integrity. Lisa's face flushed with anger. Everyone does it. She spat. No, Michael said firmly. Not everyone. Ben and Sophie showed me what true service looks like. They treated every guest with kindness, no matter who they were. That's the Prime Flame I built. That's the family I want. Turning to the staff, Michael said, I know some of you felt powerless, like no one was watching. But I see you. I see your hard work and your heart. Starting today, things will change. He announced immediate actions. Tony and Lisa were suspended pending investigation, Tom would receive management training, Ben was promoted to lead server, and Sophie would receive mentorship and support. Michael unveiled the new Steak for All program, allowing customers to buy meals for those in need, fostering community and kindness. The room shifted from tension to tentative hope. Ben smiled. Sophie wiped tears, and even Tom looked relieved. As Tony and Lisa left in silence, the team gathered around Ben and Sophie, their new champions. Michael spent the rest of the day working alongside his team, pouring steaks, clearing tables, and listening to stories. The restaurant felt alive with renewed spirit. Customers noticed the change. Regulars lingered longer, new faces appeared, and the Steak for All board filled with notes of generosity and gratitude. Michael knew the road ahead would be challenging, But with a team united by respect and kindness, Prime Flame was ready to reclaim its promise. As the sun set, Michael stood at the door, watching his family, staff, and guests alike thrive in the warmth of a place reborn. This is just the beginning, he thought. Every guest is family, and every family deserves the truth. Stay tuned for the final chapter of this journey. The morning sun filtered softly through the large windows of Prime Flame, casting a warm glow over the freshly polished wooden floors. The air inside was a comfortable 72 degrees Fahrenheit, filled with the rich aroma of sizzling steaks and freshly baked bread. But more than the scents and sounds, there was a new energy in the restaurant, a sense of hope, renewal, and community. Michael Grant stood near the entrance, no longer disguised as the dishwasher but dressed casually in a crisp button-down and jeans. His salt and pepper hair was neatly combed back, and his eyes sparkled with a mix of pride and determination. The journey he had taken from undercover dishwasher to the man who would lead Prime Flame into a new era had changed him deeply. He watched as Ben, now promoted to lead server, moved confidently through the dining room, greeting guests with genuine warmth. Sophie, no longer the nervous new waitress, balanced plates with grace and smiled easily at customers. The staff worked together seamlessly, their camaraderie evident in the quick exchanges and shared laughter. Michael's heart swelled as he saw Maria, the newly appointed head cook, guiding a young line cook through the steps of preparing the signature ribeye. The kitchen buzzed with focused energy, but the harshness that once defined it had softened into encouragement and respect. The steak for all board near the entrance was covered with colorful notes, messages of kindness, gratitude, and community support. Customers had embraced the program enthusiastically, buying meals for those in need and sharing stories of generosity. One note read, "For the single mom who deserves a night off," while another said, "In honor of my dad, a veteran who loved this place." Michael moved through the restaurant, stopping to chat with customers and staff alike. He listened to stories of how the changes had touched lives, how Ben's kindness had made a regular feel seen, how Sophie's patience had calmed a nervous child, how Maria's mentorship had inspired a young cook to pursue their dreams. Tom, the floor manager, approached Michael with a smile. "It's like a different place," he said. "People are happier, and the customers notice. We're finally living up to the promise we made." Michael nodded. "It's just the beginning. We've built something stronger, something real." As the day wore on, the restaurant hosted its first community dinner under the new program. Families, seniors, and individuals from all walks of life gathered around tables laden with hearty meals and warm conversation. Laughter echoed through the dining room, blending with the clinking of glasses and the soft hum of a live acoustic guitar. Michael took a moment to step outside, the cool evening air brushing against his face. He looked back at the glowing sign of Prime Flame, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. The road ahead would have challenges, but with a team united by respect and kindness, he was confident they could face anything. He thought about the lessons learned, the importance of leadership grounded in empathy, the power of standing up for what's right, and the transformative effect of kindness. These were the true ingredients that made Prime Flame more than just a steakhouse. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Michael returned inside to join his team. Together, they closed the night with a toast to new beginnings, to family, and to the promise that every guest, every employee, and every moment mattered. "This is our home," Michael said, raising his glass. "And here, everyone belongs."